All right, we are back. This is still Crossfire with Dakbo and Ishoma. And then we have, this very respected gentleman in the studio with us, Mr. Gwalaoba. And then we've been looking at the issue, that happened about 100 years ago, the Armenian massacre, and all of that. Now, there's something, there's a perspective to it that I want us to look at. And I'm just going to be reading something out. Okay. He said the Ottoman Turks, having recently entered, World War I on the side of German and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, were worried that Armenians living in the Ottoman Empire would offer wartime assistance to Russia. Russia had long coveted control of the, Constantinople, and which is Istanbul today. Turkey. Now, which controlled access to the Black Sea and therefore access to Russia, Russia's only year-round, seaports. Now, my challenge is this: the Armenians appear to me as a very strong people, even though they were a minority, but they were strong people. They were people. Very true. I mean, it was just the case of the children of Israel living in the land of Egypt. And the Egyptians, who were the tax masters, who were given the control, at a point in time became afraid of the children of Israel because they were growing.
Preach it, Pastor.
The factor was just that they had God right behind them.
Okay, let's be more. Let's get less spiritual and be more practical. If you look around the world, ethnic minorities, people of ethnic minorities in whatever polity, in whatever greater polity or the political superstructure in which they find themselves are usually very enterprising. Some of the most creative Nigerians. That's why I tell my friends that's why I find it very doubly unfortunate that it could be Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan that will emerge from the South as Nigeria's president and disappoint us so much. If you want to see the body of Nigerians who are very entrepreneurial, very enlightened, very exposed, go to the south of Nigeria. The Bambuses of this world, look at all the media, look at the major media houses in Nigeria. Vanguard, this day, this thing, AIT, who owns them? People from the south, who came against the horde from their villages to places like Lagos and this thing, and beat the standard there. Usually, ethnic minorities are usually very productive, creative, and very entrepreneurial. In the case of the Armenian, that was not only their strength, because they were religious minority. The Armenian church, the Armenian Orthodox Church,
it was the biggest church, the biggest building.
The Armenian Orthodox Church, if you look at their sacraments with the Russian Orthodox Church, their sacraments are not too far apart. So, a very delusive, delusive Ottoman policy strategists will say, you know what, they were likely going to be fifth columnists within the Ottoman Empire in support of Russia. I'm not trying to justify the madness of the Ottoman, but you see, that is why when we are in a state of war, when we are in a state of this thing, some of us should be trying our best possible, irrespective of the sentiments of the moment, to be speaking to the truth. Because
particularly calling for peace.
Particularly calling for peace, reasonability, rationality, because if there were enough Turkish or Ottoman intellectuals then speaking to the truth, maybe the political decision makers couldn't have made that. You know what they did? They went to a place like Istanbul. The Armenians, apart from being entrepreneurial then,
and intellectuals, they had a lot of
intellectuals in Istanbul. And they were going to people's houses, picking the intellectuals.
About 250 of them were killed
and family
in
members,
one night.
And were literally eliminated. Now, that is why, irrespective of our differences, political, religious, ethnic, cultural, color, we must first look at the possibility of harnessing the goodness of our common humanity, far and above those differences that we tend to accentuate because of our lack of creative thinking.
True.
Anyway, I want to believe, Mr. Golaoba, that somewhere, somehow, you were not there, I wasn't there. There is every possibility that
history was there.
History was there.
And if you know how to read well,
exactly, history was there.
And history never lies.
Yeah, history does not lie. Don't forget that the traces to what really happened, or the event that characterized everything that happened to the Armenians, the way they were killed. I mean, reports have it that children were taken, loaded in ship and were taken to the middle of the sea, and they were being thrown out. They were beheaded. They were raped.
You know the irony. A body of Armenian scholars are still of the opinion that a girl that Ataturk claimed to be his daughter was actually one of the orphaned Armenian children that was adopted by the man who changed the face of Turkey. So, like it happened in Argentina. You remember
Argentina.
Like it happened in Argentina, in Chile, in some other parts of the world where people who think they have immediate power now would terrorize it.
Weaker people.
History would tell on them.
Now the truth is that how come Turkey or the Turkish government, how come they are hiding? You see, they've been able to hide and not accept responsibility for what happened in 1915. Not because they don't have history,
yeah,
not because they don't have data and information. Hold on, not because all of these things is not pointing to the fact that the genocide actually happened. Let's even leave the word genocide. But we know. We can't
leave the word genocide. We will use it.
Yeah. Okay, let's use the word genocide. Okay. Mass killing, mass massacre. People were, it's just very sad. Because going into the details even makes me emotional. Let alone an Armenian.
Like all rational human beings.
Exactly. Now, my challenge is that how on earth will the Turkish government today deny the fact that this genocide took place in 1915? If history, data, information is pointing to the fact that these were the things that characterized the genocide.
D'accord. Fortunately, you understand Yoruba before I do the transliteration. The Yorubas will say, you will, if there was a criminal in your lineage before, once they mention the name of that criminal, you pretend as though you don't answer that name. Let there be a success story in your lineage before, or somebody who added value to national history. Let's say you once had an uncle who was a goalkeeper for Nigeria.
Will it not be of a national good to the people, to the Turks, and then to the Armenians? You know, when you don't have a closure on a matter like this, like a case of genocide, the Armenians don't have a closure on this matter.
Now,
that is why it's still painful.
The Armenians themselves want the Turkish government to come out today and accept the fact that
that was genocide. That will bring culture. That will bring closure.
That's all they are after. But now the individuals from Turkey do not want that to happen because they're looking at it from the international point of view. They will be blacklisted also. Look at Germany,
for example. It happened 100 years ago.
But then they are still looking at the economic issues because now Armenia will begin to ask for certain compensations which they do not want to part away with.
I don't want to believe that.
I think it's closure that the Armenians want. Seriously, I think it's closure. And I don't want to believe it has any tie to economic benefit or compensation from the
definitely. That's what will happen. You and I can bet on that, but that's exactly what will happen. Okay. They will begin to ask for compensation. These were the things that happened. We lost some of our lands. We want them back. We lost some of these. We want some things to compensate for that.
So
it will definitely have a negative.
From their land.
True.
It was like a mass movement, forced transportation. Forced transportation. Take all the people who live in Lagos now, take them and force them to leave Lagos and take them to Sambisa.
And do you know what?
And on the way, on that forced transportation, people under certain stringent existential circumstances were falling off and dying, people dying out of hunger, people dying out of, out of health. But you see, for me, the best thing to do for Turkey would be to to humbly accept that a major wrong was done to another set of humanity.
Very true.
But you see,
living in denial would only make things worse.
But the truth is that governments try to be very circumspect in being apologetic.
Because you don't know what will precede. You're having to accept responsibility for what you have done. I think that will show and prove to the Turkish people
that would have been the ideal.
Government is more mature. And when the government comes out to accept this, even the average Turkish individual will know that what the government did was right. It will also help future relationships.
If you want to know how emotional it
will help future relationships.
I said, I'm telling you, a Turkish journalist of Armenian ancestry, about 2 or 3 years ago, was literally murdered in front of his newspaper's office.
So you see now that the hatred is still ongoing. He was murdered
supposedly by a deranged youth, but international espionage or international intelligence assets are now telling us that some fringe elements in the Turkish intelligence community actually perpetrated the
So imagine how...
So it is still that, for the Turks, it is still that emotional.
And it's still fresh to them.
Look, my brother, all this grammar that we are blowing, if we were to be hosting this program today in Istanbul or
people may take to the streets. I mean, it may just get to that.
When you're calling for peace, for peace and condemning what was wrong, and you're advising people to move forward,
if we continue, this is a story, that is really very pathetic. It is a story that I believe Armenians everywhere in the world, watch everywhere since yesterday night or early hours of the morning.
About 3 weeks ago.
The build-up overnight the
Pope in trying to heal the malady that came forth from it, got into problem with the Turkish authorities because they said the Turks said the Pope used the word genocide.
And they've been running away from that, sir. But let me say this.
An art exhibition was supposed to have taken place on Armenian heritage and whatever in Switzerland. The Turkish government, using their present, bullish economic thing, leaned over on the Swiss government. That art exhibition was cancelled.
Now let's look at this dimension. The activities of the Boko Haram in the northeastern part of Nigeria in the past 6 years, has been, nothing short of a government that is totally insensitive to the security of lives and property, which it took an oath to provide if appointed or if elected. And that was what happened to today's government. How can we completely take this dimension away from looking at it as a genocide against the Northerners in Nigeria? You see, because if you have
your use of language is crossing borders. And I want you to be very careful.
Yes, I want to do that.
Who is committing genocide?
Hold on.
From your language.
Yes. I'm not saying it is being committed. Don't get me wrong. I am saying that if, for instance, in a country like Nigeria, and we have, a people, a tongue, a tribe represented across board, and a particular tribe is going through what has happened in the northeastern part of the country, and there is no conscious effort to have ended it long before now. It is an attempt to say that, okay, let us just be objective in our thinking and say, what if this has been happening in the South-South? Will it have lingered this long? What if this has been happening in the Southwest?
Of Boko Haram?
Boko Haram? What if it has been in the Southwest? Will it have lingered up till this time? or with something being done earlier?
Let me interject. I tell young journalists like you usually that I have mentoral relationship with to be very circumspect when you are trying to string.
I don't want to put you in any type.
No. To be honest with you, I will say what I know to be right. To be very circumspect the way you string comparisons, because sometimes it is very tempting in journalism to want to compare apples with oranges. The two are square, the two are spherical, or but they are totally different.
Okay, before you proceed, we'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll be taking you through the last lap of the show. You don't want to go nowhere. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. This is still Crossfire with Dakwani Shoma, and we've been talking about the massacre of the Armenians 100 years ago, way back in Istanbul, in the Turkey. In Turkey.
In Ottoman, the Ottoman Empire.
The Ottoman Empire. Now, my concern, before we went on the break, is that everything that a government needs to do to a people to avoid such, in a society like Nigeria, where we have diversity in terms of religion, ethnic, culture, tongue, and all of that. The new government is going to be sworn in May the 29th. We have been hearing and seeing a lot of things, like the case you mentioned. It's a very classical example of somebody sitting down somewhere and saying the Igbo people should be killed, inciting, very inflammatory, very, very, why would an individual in his right frame of mind make such a statement? Considering the type of nation, that we have here, we have had to connect in spite and despite our culture, our tribes, our religion, and all of that. And somebody is making such a statement. Nigeria is a country, where all these diversifications exist. A new government is coming in. We have had statement being made in Lagos by first-class Oba against the Igbo people, vote for social party and you die in the whatever. The recent one is the statement recorded made in Abia that we saw on the pages of the newspapers today. Coffin being placed strategically in Aba and saying that vote for PDP, vote against PDP and die. The same thing. That is, and this time around, this is probably the Igbo people making such a statement to Igbo people also. Some of their leaders who probably have some political biases. Now, my concern is just that the new government coming in, what is your expectation in terms of bringing Nigeria together again? In spite of our diversities and so many things that have been happening, especially when it has to do with, the South, the Yoruba people, the Igbo people, the Hausa people, and all of that, so that we can eventually have a one nation, a government governing one people.
Have you landed?
Yes.
Because I wanted you to land. You traveled a long way. Yes. Yeah, fantastic, my brother. Platitudes don't feed people. Platitudes. Speaking good grammar to people or preaching at them does not build hunger, killeth. Sweet words don't kill hunger. They may gladden the people for a while, but when hunger sets in, the best preacher becomes the most useless side to a very set of hungry people. This government should first emphasize tackling the major economic malaise that are making us to remember our differences. It is when, as an Omonile in Mushin, I don't have a sustainable means of livelihood that I will suddenly remember that Shukuma came all the way from Ungwa or from Imo to come and be selling spare parts here, and Shukuma is already driving a car, a Porsche car. Shukuma timomo badomuwa. So the first thing we must do is put measures in place to solve economic problems. The first thing, look at power. Get power sorted and you will galvanize this economy by a minimum of 25%
Very true.
growth rate. Power.
Very true.
So if you methodically go, apart from power, go to human capital development, people being able to have sustainable, marketable skill sets or enterprise, they are entrepreneurially.
And fixing power will also give.
Or naturally, entrepreneurially empowered. You will discover that Chukwuma and Taju, they are the best of friends. In fact, their coexistence will help to actualize the materialization of a new culture that will be very interesting to people who have not gotten Chukwuma and co in their own communities, say maybe in Ijebu North, and be saying, you know what, I don't first be a passion or computer village. And people in about, Nicha, this will be thinking, I must get shop for Ladepo. Solve economic problems first. Don't preach at people. Don't listen. Boko Haram. Well, about this is my opinion, and I'm not very knowledgeable. But one of the root causes of the phenomenon called Boko Haram was because we failed our youths for about 2 to 2.5 decades, and because government has failed them in the area of education, in the area of employment, in the area of marketable skill set,
even job security also. And
there is no perfectly idle hands on the face of the earth. Somebody will create job for a jobless man.
The environment may even respond to a jobless man.
That was why, look at the horde of youngsters from Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon that flocked behind those apostates who were and still bastardizing the face of a beautiful religion. So the best thing the incoming government can do will be to be very practical, very pragmatic in solving fundamental economic problems. If they can do that, you will discover that Boko Haram, amongst many other socioeconomic Malay, afflicting this polity, will die
natural death. Words of wisdom.
Let me ask you this practical question. Do you think...
You wanted to ask a question?
No, I said I can't but agree with you on your position.
Do you think we have a platform that the ground is actually ready for the new government coming in to get these problems solved? We have a lot of fundamental problems. You just talked about energy. You just talked about power. Do you think the cabal, the carcasses, yesterday, the Minister for Petroleum was still coming and he said, I don't know why the cabal, that the cabals are after me. It's simply me. Bert Energy, one-time Minister of Power in this country, talked about this cabal. What is the constituent of the cabal? Who are they? Will they allow the incoming government to do what Nigerians are expecting? They've promised us a lot of things.
My distinguished barrister, because I know you have been blessed with a...
You don't have to look away from me, sir. I am asking you a question that Nigerians want answers.
My distinguished barrister,
sir,
because God has blessed you, peculiarly now on this TV set, you have been blessed.
Do you know anything about the cabal?
You have been blessed with a multicultural...
Do you want to say something about the cabal?
Let him ask the question.
Because you have been blessed with a multicultural background.
Yes.
You may not know it's an asset for your life.
I know it is.
You have Igbo ancestry.
No, I am of Delta. Okwani.
Okay, you have Deltan ancestry, born in Lagos, raised in Lagos, or essentially.
Yes.
So
you're getting married to a Yoruba man,
and you are not totally strange to Yoruba culture.
Yes.
But
it's also my culture.
In your ancestral language, can you help me translate Allah in Ikonse? Tunda.
At this point, I think
that would be too deep for her.
You know what?
That would be too deep.
Let's get serious now. All these allusions to cabal and this thing. Now, because these people don't get the answer to the problem. If you have the answer to a problem, the cabal becomes part of the solution mechanism.
True. Very true.
My brother, I tell people that I am a proud capitalist. And as a sensible capitalist, I know that it behoves me to see many people lifted from poverty to the middle class, because you know what? The middle class is the biggest spender on the face of the earth. Now, not because I like people, but if I raise you from poverty, like Lula did in Brazil, raised people from poverty, 30 million plus, almost 40 million, to the middle class, the Brazilian economy naturally boomed. If the economy is booming, who will profit most from it? A smart, value-innovating, value-adding, creative entrepreneur. Abinobi so, of course. True. Because if I solve problem, I will make money.
True, sir.
I tell you create opportunities for more people.
I tell the young people that I mentor, don't chase money first. Chase value addition. The problem we have here is that these people were, I don't want to use the word clueless, but some people have been using the word clueless for too long. These people were clueless, so they were seeing cabal everywhere. If you have the clue, and you go with the vehemence of character and courage and conviction for what you believe in, the cabal will
support you.
Okay. Anyway, I want to believe that you are not you're not alien. You're not alien in any way to, to government. You, in a way, you are.
I'm alien to government because I've never been in government. I don't want to be in government. I tell people.
But you've been benefiting from government.
Because I'm creative, I had value.
You're an entrepreneur.
I'm an entrepreneur, and in so much as I put ideas there, look, I've been benefiting from government because as I'm sitting here, I can tell you that as the chief operating officer of a company, we have trained more than 2,000 mechanics, Mukaila, young graduates, to have modern skills. And you know what? There's no city of Nigeria that I get to today that I don't have young, prospering entrepreneurs saying, Ogagbola, let me pay your hotel bills.
All right. Anyway, we want to say a very big thank you. Let's say a very big thank you. It just makes it really very difficult to close the show because the diversity in his opinion will just make you want to ask more questions.
In about 3 weeks' time again.
Anyway, we want to say a very big thank you. We want to say a very big thank you, Mr. Agbola Oba, for joining us on the show. I want to thank everyone who has viewed us, who have been a part.